Hello, I'm Avery Martinez, the IndyTV producer, and I'm here with some information about the detainment of FLC student Randy Banks on Monday. Banks was detained by Durango Police after an altercation between himself and a public preacher identifying himself as Keith Darrell. Banks was one of roughly 100 students who gathered outside of Reed Library to listen and discuss with Keith Darrell, a man who on his website identified himself as a public preacher. And as a result, Darrell and Banks became the center of campus talk. According to a brief interview with The Independent, Darrell explained his purpose of coming onto campus as being a way of speaking his views in the public forum. Tempers flared, students argued, and a sizable crowd gathered to discuss and debate with Darrell's viewpoints. Emotions hit a peak when, according to Darrell, Banks, quote, poured coffee on my Bible and kind of slightly my clothes, and that was it, and then he took off running, unquote. According to Mitch Davis, who's the public information officer for Fort Lewis College, Banks approached Darrell and, quote, had a cup of coffee in his hand. Whether the coffee was thrown at the preacher or spilled on the preacher is unclear, but the coffee landed on the preacher from Banks's cup. Banks then left and the Durango Police Department placed him under arrest, unquote. As of this report, it is not known if Banks faces charges. In the police report, Banks is identified as Randall Hughes. In an email sent across campus, President Thomas informed us that Darrell was not invited to campus or sponsored by any FLC group or institution. Banks described his intentions and his actions to the Indy in an interview yesterday.
I did my best to sum up what my main message was, and what I said to him. What I said to him was, your westward expansion, your Western culture is built on genocide. Your hate speech. And I said this as assertively and directly as I could. I would describe what he said as saying, westward expansion is God's will, which is coded language for genocide is God's will. Murdering Native people is God's will. And that, using that coded language, it's kind of pervasive, but it still is boils down to he is racist, and he defends himself with a idea of a religion.
According to the group's Facebook page, the Fort Lewis College Animal Liberation Club sponsored a rally Tuesday centered on Banks' altercation with Darrell. According to Davis, there has been some discussion by students and the administration to turn Fort Lewis College into a safe space by which no person such as Darrell would be allowed to preach. However, Davis explained this could potentially lead to all forms of public protest, rallies, or discussion being banned on campus. Davis explained that one of the main questions raised in response to the safe space proposal is, quote, where is the line between I don't like what you're saying and hate speech? And further, how do you define a safe space? The only remaining question is, what are the repercussions, if any, faced by Banks for his actions? Stay tuned to theindyonline.com for more information as we bring it to you on this ongoing story. That's what we know. For the IndyTV, I'm Avery Martinez. Stay tuned here for up-to-the-minute coverage of campus news.